Oh my god damn it, really?
Everything's going to be
I did that on
1,000
purpose.
takes today. I guess life knows we're in a hurry.
Hello and welcome to the Close Enough Radio podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jay. Thank you for joining us. What are you drinking today, Mike?
Today I am drinking Red-Headed Sluts.
You've got my attention.
Red-Headed Slut traditionally is made with Jaeger, peach schnapps, and cranberry juice.
Oh.
It's a nice, smooth drink. It's got a hint of a sweetness to it, cuts out the bitterness of the Jaeger, and it goes down nice.
I was going a complete different direction with that.
So, Jay, what are you thinking about?
Well, Mike, like everybody in the country, I've been thinking about Ebola. This killer disease has made it to our shores and is poised to spread, wiping out the majority of our population. And I'm just sitting here at home, stocking up on fresh water and food, cleaning the rifles, and duct taping up my windows. It's only a matter of time until mad cow disease has killed the majority of flora. Sorry, not mad cow. Bird flu. Swine flu. SARS. I'm sorry, I forgot which outbreak is killing everyone this week. Better turn on the news. Oh, yeah, Ebola. Pretty scary. At least the ISIS threat has been dealt with. At least the Gaza Strip has settled down. At least Russia is done being cunts to the Ukraine. At least they found that missing Malaysia Airlines flight. Oh, wait. They didn't do any of that shit, did they? They just aren't talking about it because the new boogeyman is Ebola. But there's a bigger threat out there. Fear. Fear is far deadlier and much easier to transmit. You can catch fear from as little as 10 seconds contact with cable news networks. Fear is their stock in trade, and the idiots line up behind them, spewing their stupid. Tom Kincannon, a South Carolina judge, suggested, quote, people with Ebola in the U.S. need to be humanely put down immediately. On an unrelated side note, Kincannon is very pro-life. Weird. And it's not just the right-wing nuts freaking out. Ordinary people are panicking over relatively mundane things. A flight from Dallas to Chicago was thrown into panic when a woman vomited. Flight attendants locked the woman in the lavatory during the duration of the flight. A person vomiting on a flight, that is rather unusual. I guess that's why every seat is equipped with a flotation device, an escape guide, a Sky Mall catalog, and a vomit bag. The same excuses are being hurled about. It's Obama's fault. He wants to make the U.S. more like Africa. It's God's wrath because of the atheists and the gays. It's Big Pharma and the New World Order and the Illuminati. Go fuck yourselves. Media hype is actually far worse than the average American than Ebola. Well, not actually. That shit will kill you. But the average American isn't going to contract Ebola. Eric Duncan. Yes, he had a name, and a family, and a life. He was a person. Stop calling him Patient fucking Zero, you assholes. Duncan came back from his work in Africa and fell ill. The hospital may have misunderestimated his condition early on, but consider this. Before he was diagnosed, 76 people had contact with Duncan. 2 later became infected and are now under quarantine. 2 out of 76. Roughly 1 in 40. Not the pandemic poised to destroy our way of life and convert this country into New Africa. Not the wrath of God. Not even the wrath of Khan. Will the news tell you this? No. They'll tell you about all the hospitals' mistakes, further eroding the trust of the public in their medical professionals. And without that trust, cases will go undiagnosed longer, as people avoid doctors and hospitals until it's too late. The Ebola panic could cause you to die of pneumonia, or any other easily treated illness, simply due to inaction. But there is a cure here. Turn off the damn TV and read a book. Facts are your cure here. If you don't feel well, go see a doctor. If somebody's throwing up, don't touch it. Other than that, shut the fuck up.
This episode of Close Enough is brought to you by A Clockwork Garage. Clocks, keychains, and more made from recycled auto parts. Visit aclockworkgarage.com. This week on Close Enough Movie Review, I decided to let Jay pick the movie, and he went with The Fourth Kind. It was a interesting choice. We had both seen it before, sat back down, watched it again, and we're about to review what we came up with. Jay, go ahead and take it away.
Well, for those of you who haven't seen it, shame on you. But I'll give you a brief refresher here. It takes place in Nome, Alaska, a city with a small population and a lot of disappearances. Dr. Abigail Tyler is a psychiatrist serving the residents there, and she notices that a lot of the individuals are suffering a similar affliction. Trouble sleeping, waking up at 3 a.m., 3:33 I believe it was, and visions of a disturbing white owl outside their bedrooms. Under hypnosis, it is revealed that the owls outside their windows are more than they seem, and they are visiting everybody in the town, including Abigail herself. Now, I chose this movie because it actually scared me. Laugh if you must, but this movie tapped into a very real fear that, lasted well beyond the jump starts of the typical slasher films. Its found footage aspect lends it further credibility, even though it holds up to no scrutiny whatsoever. The movie's docudrama style collapses under my skeptical scrutiny, but if you suspend your disbelief and allow the movie to take you for a ride, it will leave you with a lingering fear that makes it difficult to take your trash out at night. What did you think of it, Mike?
Well, to be honest, I enjoyed the movie, but first thing, I felt like it was lacking in the aspect of trying to push so hard saying that this was all real and that this found footage was there to back it up. When you look into the movie itself, nothing was real except for the fact that they picked Nome, Alaska, which is known for having a lot of disappearances. As well, as you said, this was a fear for you. The first thing I thought of was this could have just as easily been done with demons or some other kind of a creature. Now, if this was done with something else other than the idea of this nocturnal extraterrestrial beings, would it have affected you in the same sense?
Yes and no. I don't know how much of it was the pre-existing fear of extraterrestrials I had as a child and into my young adult life. One of the aspects of it wasn't just that it was people from another planet, but it was the amount of control and the amount of helplessness it put on you. When you're watching a typical horror film, you've got the bad guy, the Jason, the Freddy, the Merman, whatever it is, and you can go kill it, electrocute it, lock it in something, throw it into a time warp, and it goes away. This was an antagonist that you couldn't do anything to. So yes, if there were demons that showed up and under similar circumstances, I think the movie still would have been solid. Would it have had such a lasting effect on me? Probably not, no.
Well, one thing I did want to point out on the positive aspect is Elias Coates. I love him as an actor. I mean, he goes back with me to childhood, all the way back to Casey Jones in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And just to remind people, who did he play?
Oh, he was the other therapist friend, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Yes.
That comes in to help Dr. Tyler.
The guy who I spent the whole time trying to figure out if he was the guy from SVU or not?
Yes, no, that's not him, by the way.
I figured it out, yes.
I enjoy his work much as an actor. Pretty much everything he does, even some of the bad movies he's done, I still enjoy his part and his work. So that helped me get through a lot of the movie. And then, of course, there's Mila Jovovich.
As we all know, I'm a bit of a big Mila Jovovich fan. That was the original reason I watched this movie, because I've seen everything of hers. And I would say, apart from her typical styles of the zombie action films and every one of her Resident Evil films, that I kind of wish she'd stop making them, because I do go and see every single one of them in the theater. I did think her acting was particularly good in this movie. Even though she played a person that I wanted to strangle who was whining the whole time, she did play a very good whiny psychiatrist.
Well, Jay, with that being said, that brings us to a brand new segment this week called What Would Jay Do for a Night with Mila?
I don't think there's much I wouldn't do for a night with Mila.
Well, I got some interesting suggestions here. I wanted to see whether or not you would go through with these in order to have one night with Mila.
Are we still doing a movie review?
We are. We're just interrupting right now.
Do I actually win a night with Mila?
Well, maybe what we'll do is we'll take this, send it into her, and see what her husband says. Are you willing to play?
I'm game.
All right. First question. For one night with Mila, you get to do whatever you want in the night. Keep in mind, that's part of the rules. So you have the full 12-hour span of the evening.
Before we begin,
yes,
the story takes place in Alaska.
Yes.
Nights are longer in Alaska.
Well, that's not the rules of this game. Does she live in Alaska?
Fine. You win.
All right.
Get greedy.
Number 1. Before you get to have your free time, she gets to come at you with a huge strap-on for 1 hour. Are you willing to go through with that?
That was on my list anyway, so sure.
All right. Number 2. She gets to take a huge dump on your chest beforehand, and you cannot clean it off during the rest of the night.
a clarification question. Are these individual instances?
These are all
Or are they
what would
cumulative?
happen in order for you to have that one night.
So they're cumulative.
No, these are each individual.
Oh, well, let's see. Oh. I do draw my lines at feet and feces, so no, I don't know that I would allow that.
I've got to be honest, I'm surprised. I figured you'd say yes for the strap-on, but I didn't know you were going to say no for that.
I draw the line at feet and feces.
Okay. In order for one night with Mila, you get to spend 1 month as a jizz mopper at a jerk-off booth.
Sure.
All right. That's a yes. One night with Mila. You get to do whatever you want. But you get stuck in an arranged marriage with someone you won't be able to stand for the rest of your life.
So a normal marriage?
Worse.
But I get my night?
You get your night.
Okay.
All right. You get 1 night a year with Mila for the rest of your life.
Cool.
But you can never be with anybody else at all.
Done.
All right. I'm getting more yeses than I thought.
As I said, there's not a lot I wanted.
You get your night with Mila. Immediately ending, you get thrown into a box for the entire next 24 hours filled with whip scorpions.
Okay.
All right, he says yes.
I can squish them.
You get your 1 night with Mila, but knowing you will contract some sort of an STD that is uncurable.
Unrelated or from her?
From her.
Well, that's not very nice to say.
I didn't ask her.
Okay.
All right, that's another yes. This is one of my favorite ones. But her husband gets to join with you.
All right.
And that's another yes. Now, my last question I have written down here is, but you have to get your tongue split before the night.
As long as I've got time for it to heal. Yeah.
All
Sure.
right. So we have 1 no, and the rest are yes.
As I've said, I draw the lines at feet and feces.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is what would Jade do for 1 night with Mila. We may have to continue this at some point in the future, apparently. See what sort of buttons I can push. Now, back to our movie review.
Oh, now back to the movie review.
Now back to the movie review.
Oh, you've got my imagination going in the wrong direction today. So, was there anything else about the movie you didn't like?
Well, one thing, personally, I don't know. This is just a small nitpicking. I find hypnotism to be hokey. I've never tried it. I don't know much about it, other than what I've seen in movies, TV shows, read a little bit here and there. And it seems like that's just going to be something that's going to be person to person. Somehow in this movie, within 10 seconds, every single person gets hypnotized. Can you explain that one?
Well, aside from the obvious answer of, it's Hollywood.
Right.
No, not really. I don't know how prevalent hypnosis is in the psychological world. I do know that there are some people who are very perceptive or susceptible to hypnosis. It's a common thing, and it's especially easy if the person is willing. The brain is susceptible to suggestion very easily. As far as its legitimate use, I don't know how much it's generally used. I wrote it down as sort of a lazy plot point.
Okay, I'll give you that. One part that I enjoyed, just, showing a little sick and twisted side, I loved when the guy just flips out and they show this, supposed to be real footage of the guy killing his family. Now, I mean, that's just a twisted thing, but that was about the only thing in the movie that they actually showed, well, short of people levitating. So that was somewhat of a bloodlust getting touched on, at least, I guess. Other than that, they didn't really show anything, like I said. Everything was left to the imagination.
Is this a critique? Because I think that worked in the movie's favor.
I was going to say it does and it doesn't. There are certain movies, some of my all-time favorite movies, that it works in extremely well.
Well, this is an Alfred Hitchcock thing.
That's what I was going to say. Psycho is one of my all-time favorite movies, and perfect use right there. I don't know why, but it didn't work for me as well in this movie as it did in other movies.
I mean, again, you understand the concept of it. Whatever you imagine, is going to be far worse than anything the director could imagine and throw in front of you. Because if he quantifies it and says, well, it's there, then that's what you got, and either you're afraid of it or you're not. For me, like I said, this had been a long-standing fear of my childhood. I was always afraid of men from space, and you can make fun if you will.
Oh, not at all.
As a child, I thought I'd seen UFOs. I thought that I'd been abducted. I look back at these experiences now and think it could have been any number of things, but that's me looking back as a skeptic. The rational side of me goes, psh, whatever. But the fear is still there. And in this case, the movie allowed me to fill in my own boogeyman and present him with such power that it could show up, do whatever it wanted, and leave me thinking it was an owl. And if I were ever to find out what it was, it would terrify me so much that murder-suicide would top my list of best options. Something that would make a man who loves his family go home and put bullets in them has to be something frightening. And I think that was the appeal of this film, is that, our antagonist was so powerful and so unstoppable in these people's minds that suicide was the option.
Okay, I'll give you that. One other major critique that really bothered me immensely throughout the whole movie, almost every time, specifically when they're showing the patients, and they're showing the supposed real footage, and then they're showing the actors' footage. Now keep in mind, these are both actors.
Yes.
They're showing the actors' footage, and it's so over the top compared to the other one. And they're showing them even side by side. You got one guy on the couch, and he's just kind of twitching, and he's like, ah. Then you see the other guy who is supposed to be the actor, who's just, he's given himself a seizure with a hernia and screaming bloody murder while sitting on the couch. This guy's not doing it in the other footage. If he's supposed to be reenacting that, shouldn't he have maybe dialed it down a little bit? Or, that kept happening throughout the whole movie. I felt like it made it way over the top and even less believable that this footage should have been real.
I will give you that there was a change in there, and the side-by-side footage did seem a little cheesy. I'm going to play apologist here and say that the actor, we're just going to refer to them as the actor in the reel here, just for ease of communication.
Actor in the reel, okay.
The actor, I think, played it up a little more than they should have to try and reinforce the reel. Because when you see a movie, everything's played up a little bit over the top. So the fact that you're like, all right, well, this is the actor, but that's what actually happened. And again, I'm playing apologist here. I freely admit that. I don't know if that's what the director was thinking.
Okay.
I will say, admittedly, the dialogue through the film was a bit stale, with the exception of the cop, who should have just stayed dead in the Armageddon rocket. But
thank you.
While the dialogue was stale, they were conversations that people would have. Again,
True.
Except for the fucking cop.
That was actually going to be my next complaint was the cop. I'm sorry.
I don't deal in no things from the ether, demons, foreign monsters. Shut the fuck up, dude.
Oh, I don't want to do this. He just barges into every room and he's trying to steal the scene.
He was a little over the top.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna agree wholeheartedly with you there. They could have, I don't know, they should have gotten the sheriff from Walking Dead or something.
Now, I had one other critique that I wanted to know if you noticed.
Sure.
In the beginning of the movie, they even state that all the names and occupations have been changed to protect people, correct?
Yes, I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
Even in the supposed real footage, she still says their names. So then they keep the same name.
What was...
And Scott was one of the main ones. He was the second guy with the wife. And Tommy?
Tommy, the guy who shot his family.
Yes, him. Yes. I was talking about the next guy was Scott. Both of them.
Scott was the guy who broke his neck. Yeah.
Right. Both of them, she said their name in the found footage, and then they brought it back in to the other footage.
Did you notice in the found footage with, was it Scott, the second guy who went under hypnosis?
Mm-hmm.
He says, now I know why the deleted his name did what he did.
Yes, I did notice that.
But in the earlier found footage, they used the name Thomas. I did notice that, and I was like, that's strange.
That bothered me.
I put it down to an oversight in editing. I have no genuine apologetics for it.
An oversight in editing that occurred way too many times. It wasn't one.
No, I mean, I'm not going to defend that. I just say, yes, it was an error. Yes, it was poor writing, perhaps, but I don't think it ruined the movie for me.
I wouldn't say that ruined the movie for me. It was on my mind the rest of the time, though. I don't know why. It was one of those things that stood out, and I'm just like, wait a minute. This obviously, that was one of the first things I noticed that made me want to look up whether or not any of it was real, which we've already discussed. But that right there, if you notice that part of the movie, it just irked me the entire time. The whole rest of the movie, I kept thinking about they're trying to make a disclaimer, and then they're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, everything in the movie was set up to try and reinforce the reality of it, that this is a real case study. This is a thing that actually happened. And everything, I thought that was quite novel, even though it was total and utter bollocks.
Right.
But no, I mean, I thought it was a novel way to present the film, and I haven't seen Paranormal Activity, but I understand it's similar. I've heard references that it's similar to that. I might be talking out my ass because I haven't seen the other film either. But I would say all in all, I rather enjoyed the film. Watching it the second time through didn't have the same effect on me. I was able to sleep, and I did take my trash out. I will say that the film did leave me frightened longer than the length of the film.
Okay.
So that in and of itself is one of the reasons why I enjoyed it as much as I did. And Mila,
right.
It's Mila.
I've got to be honest, I'm a little jealous. I don't remember the last time I watched a movie that actually gave me any sort of fear in any way, shape, or form. Even as a kid, I remember watching horror movies and enjoying them. I don't remember actually getting frightened.
Oh, I mean, again, that's why this movie, with all of its glaring errors, stood out to me as something impressive, something noteworthy. So, that said, on a scale of 1 to 5 horrifying nocturnal visitations, I rated this 4.
4?
4.
I'm gonna go... I'll give it an even 3.
You give it 3? That's fair. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up this segment here. Next week, due to popular request, we will be watching the film Rubber.
Overwhelmingly popular.
Popular. We did get a lot of requests for this one. So rather than pick a random film, we listened to the will of the people. So if you haven't seen Rubber, go ahead and watch it sometime this week. We'll be reviewing it next week. And if you don't watch it, you won't know what the hell we're talking about.
And we're moving on to a segment we like to call Fact or Crap.
That's probably copyrighted.
And we're moving on to a segment we like to call That's Fucking Bullshit.
Right.
In this segment here, I'm going to read you a list of 6 stories, and you're going to tell me whether they are true or false.
So I have to figure out if they're fucking bullshit?
Yes. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, our first headline. There is a prevalent African myth that sex with a virgin will cure HIV and AIDS. Because of this, 1 million women and children are raped each year. True or false?
That is a tough one. I'm going to go with false.
False? That one is actually true.
That's rough.
All right, number 2. Blockbuster, if you still remember that.
The video rental place.
Yes.
Right, yes.
Still has 50 franchises, owned and operated stores open in the North American region.
I believe that one is false.
Sorry, sir, that one is also true.
I am not going well so far. How many of these we got to do?
6.
6.
2 down. All right, number 3. Jenny McCarthy claimed that drinking large amounts of lemon juice cures Ebola, stating that the freshly squeezed lemon juice contains compounds called citronellose, which help your body fight off viral infections naturally.
I think you're trying to fake me out on this one. Jenny McCarthy is a known fucking moron. I think there's far too much detail in this one for it to be true, so I'm going to go with false.
You're correct. That one is false.
She would probably just be like, organic's good for you, vaccines are bad, big pharma, retarded kids.
Vaccines are bad, but we can still carry everything through our kids to the other kids.
Yeah, yes. She's not exactly a brain trust.
Obviously. Well, you gotta say a lot about Playboy, right?
I don't have to say anything.
There we go. Alright, number 4. When Johnny Cash realized his record label of 30 years was not properly marketing him, he recorded an internationally awful song called Chicken in Black about his brain being transplanted into a chicken.
I know you're a big Johnny Cash fan.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how that affects my answer. So we're going to try false?
Wrong again, sir. That one is true. Believe it or not, towards the end of his career, that was one of his biggest hits.
So what am I, 1 in 4 here?
1 in 4. We've got 2 more to go.
Right, let's bring this one on and see what happens.
Okay, number 5. A company called QC Mart ran a Guess Who Will Get Fired Next competition to motivate its employees.
I love it. I don't even care if it's false or not. I want it to be true. I'm going to go with true.
It is true.
That is fantastic. I want to go work for that company.
In fact, what had happened was they actually fired a man for being so overweight, and in order to defend themselves in court, they started playing this game with other employees. All right, and number 6. A New York mother reported to authorities after seeking out shock therapy, stating her 9-year-old son refused to listen to bedtime Bible stories.
Christians, absurdity, New York, true.
Believe it or not, that one's false.
Oh.
Well, sir, we've got
33%.
33%. Woohoo! That was this week's in Fact or Crap?
No.
Oh, that's right. Fucking bullshit.
Fucking bullshit. The Close Enough podcast is brought to you by A Clockwork Garage. Our audio technician is Jessica Hattis. We want to hear from you with comments, belligerent complaints, movie suggestions, and local band submissions. You can reach us at closeenoughladio@gmail.com or contact us at our Facebook page, Close Enough Radio.
Well, that brings us to our final segment, which is our local bands. This week we are featuring an Orlando-based death metal band, bringing brutality to the local metal scene. Here is Entombed in the Abyss with an unreleased track entitled Chipotle with the Boys.